Don't say any F's and stuff.
Blazing the steel. Bring the heat. Mix it non-stop with the hottest DJ.
I'm your host, Joshua Diaz.
Non-stop.
There is no investigation. This boy has...
There is not, really? It is to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I have to put her on the side. And
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
There is no investigation. This boy
There
has...
is not, really? It is to me. Right. Idiot.
I've done my best. It's hard, that's real tough.
But I have to put her on the side and worry about the boys.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
Live from the NBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz.
What's
There is
up?
no investigation. This boy
There
has...
is
How's
not,
it going?
really? It is to me.
Welcome.
But I have to
Thank you
put
for being
her
All right, let's
on the
get
side
going.
and worry about the boys.
Good to see everybody. Thank you for being here. I hope everybody had a fantastic Monday. We got a great show for you
There
tonight.
is no investigation.
Always a treat when we have
Don't say any F's and stuff.
Mr. McDonough from the interview room in the house. Chris, thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you. You look great.
You look great too, buddy.
Thank you.
I'm still.
On the side and worry about the boys.
I love your opening.
Hey,
It's classic.
it reminds me every single day, every time I play it. And every time I hear it, it's worse than the time before that I heard it. Just some of those sound clips, But yeah, that's
I love the one where it goes, "I did my best."
I did my best.
That's classic.
Yeah, well, we all know what his best is, and
The money shot.
he's just, one of the most ridiculous people.
It's Christmas time, and
It sure
thanks
is.
for the invite. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, glad to be
How
here.
is your holiday season going? Is it cold?
It's very cold where we're at.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Well,
cold.
so
In fact,
you
Buddy's
saw-
gone. What are we doing here?
he's not even liking it outside.
Oh, he's rocking it, but I took him out a little while ago, and within 5 minutes, he's like, "Okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
Let's go back."
done with it.
Wow,
Chris,
it's a record.
the other day, okay, so we put this we had to get a baby gate because for some reason Otis likes to, on occasion, mark his territory on beds of all things.
Okay.
So we're trying to keep him out of like certain rooms, but it's really cold and I didn't have a baby gate or anything. So I just took a piece of like plywood from the shed and I put it there and he could easily jump over it. It's just more of, kind of deferring. And I was laying down and he came, it looked like a reindeer, jumps right over it. Okay.
Wow.
Boo, he just comes flying over it. And I go, oh my gosh, jumps up on the bed. Well, then his fat dad, Macho, comes trotting behind him. He can't jump it. Okay. Cause he's just, he's a little up there in age. And he'll be 5 soon. And he's got a bit of a weight problem. Hey, we all struggle. I know. I'm not shaming anybody.
Yep.
Otis sees him peering over it. He jumps over and Linda's right there. We look at each other. Otis roots up Macho's back legs and starts pushing him over the top while Macho is pulling to get over the board, and he successfully did it.
He ain't heavy. He's my brother.
I looked at that and I go, oh my gosh, we're not in Kansas anymore. It was odd. They were like they were like worker ants.
If more people did that, right, we'd have a better world.
Yeah, but see, Otis doesn't do it for anybody but himself because he wants to play. And but it was probably the cutest, most psychotic thing I've ever seen an animal do. But hey, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
That's pretty cool, actually. You know, did you video it?
No, because it happened so fast. I was just sitting there going, I can't believe it. I cannot believe he thought of that.
So what are you going to do now that they've mastered the 6-foot wall in the obstacle course? Sign them up for that TV show. What's the TV show where they
Ninja Warrior?
Ninja Warrior. Yeah.
Well, actually, you know what I've done is I've given up. Just in general, I'm not training Otis anymore. You know, it's just useless. And I tell people all the time, you know, because we do these call-in shows, don't call and give me dog advice. I don't want it because Otis isn't normal. But so I was on this little, you know, somebody sent me this from my old days. I used to work at a state fair. I don't know if you knew that, but
yeah, I did know that you were.
Oh yeah, I thought you did.
You were in the corn dog truck.
I was in the corn dog business.
Right. With the hat.
And
you have the red.
All of a sudden,
hat.
I get this email. It says, "Hey, you're always making fun of Chris. You're always doing this. You're always doing that." And they said, "But look what I found to you." And they said, "And if you don't show it on your show, then." They said that they were going to tell something very embarrassing about me. But I'm just going to tell you what that is right now. I have a fear of diet root beer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that how far back does it go?
'Tis a tale as old as time.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, I said, okay, fine. I'll just show it. Just leave me alone. And that's me. Stanislaus County Fair. I don't know if you've ever been to that one.
Does not surprise me. Actually, I think I saw you at that one. And
yeah, I was one of the big
car looking like that. I was just. I remember pulling up alongside. You're like, "Hey, I'm just headed to the fair," and I'm like, "Okay, we'll see you later."
Can you imagine? A good thing that I had a convertible Miata at the time because I let the top down and I didn't have to get dressed at work.
Absolutely. That mustard though went all over the mustard went all over your face though from the wind. If I remember when I saw you, it was all in your beard because you had the top down.
Absolutely. It was horrifying, but you know, sometimes you have to do, and this was around Christmas time back in 97. I was trying to make a little extra money for the holidays. I didn't have kids back then. I was only 12 with a full beard.
Right.
And, but my love of corn dogs goes way, way back.
You blossomed early.
I peaked and I'm on the down end of my corn dog experience.
Yep.
But I'd like to revive it. But anyway, so yeah, that was, that brings back memories.
It should. That's a traumatic experience.
I mean, somebody said, "Oh, there's hair in my
for those guys." You know, when you drive by them on the corners and stuff, and the outfits,
right?
You know. Exactly. It's that time of year, and there aren't very many county fairs around December time, or unless do they have any county?
One thing that I did notice I just noticed it just now because somebody texted me.
What?
Look where the stick is.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to say anything, but good observation. Well, what's amazing is somebody's holding and wiping you too. Because you're messy. Yeah. I was more worried about the guy with the paper behind you.
I didn't even notice.
You didn't notice that?
No, I didn't.
Trained
I did
observer.
this in 20.3 seconds, maybe less, not counting up. Well, that counts uploading it. So no.
And well, this is an old picture. I mean, sometimes
things change, right?
Yeah, it's a Polaroid, right? It's an old Polaroid.
It's just, this is what I get for like going Michael Landon on you yesterday.
You know what? That was hysterical. I did see that last night. Actually, I had to catch up to it because I got in, late in terms of wrapping things up.
Right.
I every time I see that stuff, it kills me. I mean, even with, hey, there's Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hey, Mary.
And by the way, you got to tell Billy to really cut down on the food analogies because your chat was going nuts.
He's hysterical.
Oh, he's
behind the scenes. And, I don't care if he doesn't care. I mean, it's all in good fun.
Oh, no. He was, when he was giving his presentation and he kept mentioning French fry makers, I could just see people in the chat going, I'm hungry now. And he just kept going back to the French fries.
Back in the day, at 3:00 in the morning when everybody is, the drunks are gone, the DUI squads are wrapping it up for the evening, 3, 4 in the morning, booking people. You got a little time before the 6 a.m. kickoff. And when on morning watch, I can tell you one time, somebody had found, I believe it was a possum. And it was literally, it looked like somebody had hit it and whatever, right? So anyway, they get together, for lunch. They call a guy over and they meet up. And while those two guys were in having lunch or dinner, remember they're working 11 night to 7 in the morning. So their dinner's like 4:00 in the morning, right? Anyway, while they're in there, they throw the possum in the back seat of this guy's squad car, as a joke, thinking he's going to come out, find this dead possum. Well, he did all right when he lit that car up. That thing went berserk.
Yeah.
In the back seat. And he, fortunately, it's a cage car. So the only way that thing could have got into the front seat is if it would have gone under the seat. But it was hysterical, and
those things are mean.
They are mean. It was mad. I heard. I didn't see it. I just heard about it.
We have possums around here, and they get in fights with raccoons and skunks, and they sound terrifying.
And Buddy, I told you, Buddy trapped one last summer.
Of course he did.
Underneath a shed.
I don't think that's a fight he could win.
Well, he was under there for 3 hours, and we had to call the animal control to come get him out, get the possum out, and then Buddy came out underneath him, but behind him. Essentially, it was a shed with like a, it was up on 4x4, so it was like 4 inches.
Right.
And this thing would go under there at night because it was cold. Well, we hear this barking. We can't find Buddy. And he dug, and, Jack Russell Terrier got this thing, and the two of them were in a standoff underneath that shed. And we couldn't get him out from underneath it. And so we called the animal service, and they came out and they dug a hole at the opposite end where we believe the possum was. And they put a noose up in there, and they got him, and they pulled him out and threw him over a fence, and the thing took off. But here comes Buddy right up underneath. I'm like, you nut job. And I look at it, he has his face. He's sleeping over here right now, but his face was all, cut up. And I'm thinking, holy cow, you're lucky. You're lucky.
Yeah,
but JRTs are fearless. Go ahead.
They are fearless, and those wild animals just do not play very nice. And I just saw a video the other day of a little girl coming home, and a raccoon ran up onto her porch and started biting her leg. It was on like the door cam. The mom opens the door. Okay, this is the power of mothers, by the way. Opens the door, sees the raccoon because she hears her daughter screaming. She reaches down and grabs the raccoon by the back of the neck, lifts it up, lifts the daughter up, puts the daughter in the house. There's some kids across the street. She says, go back inside. Go back inside. And after she does, she flings the raccoon about 20 feet in the air going forward. And I was like, that was amazing, because obviously the mother would be scared, but she did not seem scared at all at the time.
Interesting.
And it just shows, that nature versus nurture. And she, I don't want to say it reminded me of like a bear protecting her cub, because that's so primal, but instinctually it was nothing more than a mother fearful. Let me see if I'll bring it up real quick. Right.
So what are we talking about tonight too? Are you going to take some calls, or what do you want to do?
Oh, we can do anything that you want to do.
Well, let's see what everybody wants to do.
Oh, they're going to want to take calls, but
okay.
Are you up for that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
And we have some really good callers, but hold on. Let me play this real quick. This is crazy.
Oh, wow, that thing's biting. Look at that.
Yeah, let me go back here. In the middle of the day.
Oh, my.
Wait till mom shows up, though. Kid's going to be okay.
I wonder if it was rabid.
I don't know. She says it is.
She says it isn't?
She says it is. Listen here.
Go, Mom. Wow.
Amazing. Like that was, when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow. What a terrifying, what a terrifying experience.
Man, oh man.
That is.
That's scary.
So one thing that I do want to talk about, we can start off with, is D. Warner, and then we can talk a little Moscow. And but I do want to ask about the D. Warner case. Some of those statistics that you guys brought up yesterday, and if you're not familiar with the D. Warner, Dale Warner case, D. Warner went missing. Oh, I don't have the date, but it was over a year and a half or 2 years. About a year and a half now. She's been missing. Husband claims, after they had the biggest fight of their life, in his words, that she took off to Mexico. There's nothing, or Mexico or Jamaica, nothing supports that. And he is suspected by many, including me, of killing her and getting rid of her body. Now, if you knew anything about, and go over to the interview room, check that out. If you did not see yesterday, you and Billy and Mr. Greg are fighting an uphill battle.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a battle, but it's linear right now.
Right.
It was going uphill, but we're leveling the field off.
Right. And but it's taken a lot of, just a lot of manpower, a lot of effort, almost. And I would say this, not that D is completely, D's family is on a mission, but they really shouldn't have to try this hard.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, 100%. There's enough there to charge him with the financial stuff right away. And that financial stuff, the question mark's going to be, what's the motive? Well, there's your motive.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. And then when you get people, in civil court and, they have to participate in discovery, usually they're going to say, well, why'd you do this? And some of the stuff that Billy has gone over, is these shell accounts and fraudulent signings and things like that. Well, why would you do all that? If you really thought that she was wherever you said, that there's a possibility that she can come back, try and get a hold of her, have her sign those papers. Don't commit the felony.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a whole bunch of, circumstantial evidence, but that's on the death side. But on the other side, there's hard evidence. There's real evidence. It's tangible evidence on all of the financial frauds and the shell game. And we've proven that. I mean, and what's interesting is, like there's money moved from her account into family members' accounts, then back into his account, and, he's written checks to himself from stimulus money. I mean, it's crazy. And Billy laid it all out. So
he always does. But it just, really seeing the brother yesterday was truly heartbreaking, but he's an absolute stud.
Right.
And for lack of a better term.
Both him and his wife and the family are committed 100% to make things happen. And, the system is the way it is right now. I mean, there are good things and the bad things about it, but it's the system we have.
Yeah. And we don't really have much choice other than to obviously go that way. But, the wheels of justice, obviously everybody says, well, they're slow, and that's true. It certainly can be. But it does stay, I had a lady in here that I believe she watches your show as well. And she was telling me about her father that was stabbed, and it's since like April or May, and it's really been unsolved, but they feel like they're starting to give up hope. And I was just really trying to encourage her, don't give up, like keep checking in with investigators, see where it's at. You're not bothering them because they're doing their job, but just like, and I forget her name, but this man was caught down in, was it Puerto Rico or, she's with the Cold Case Foundation.
Which one?
Remember the bodybuilder guy that got, found after.
Josephine.
Yeah.
Wenzel.
Yeah. And how frustrating it was for her.
Yeah. McLeod.
Yes. And, as frustrated as she was, and she was saying, don't give up. Don't, if you're angry with the investigators, it's never going to probably go well.
Yeah. They'll shut you down.
Right. And so that was kind of the whole basis for that. But, I really do hope. And
she's doing great things. She works with a lot of families and refocuses them because, to your point, I think there's a shift going on in law enforcement. I got a thread here coming off my jacket. Yeah. Who cares? Anyway, there's a shift going on, in my opinion, in the law enforcement community as technology starts to increase, critical thinking decreases. And, they're seeing it with the younger generations coming in. When I was in, on patrol and that kind of stuff, we had maps, we had our instinct, and of course, the radio. But, you know, you'd have to get to your map real fast and go to page E5 or whatever it was and find the street. But then you had to know where that was geographically. Well, today they just, you know, and boom. Oh, there it is. And they press play and they're off on, they follow the little blue line. Okay. Well, following that blue line also diminishes their ability to see outside of themselves because they're focused on just getting there as a result of the GPS. And I think that's why there is a breakdown in the ability to communicate with the public. And law enforcement has been struggling with this over the last 5-10 years.
So I will open up the phones tonight if people do want to call and ask questions, and you know, and obviously that's fine. I can only take like 5 at a time, and so you know, when McDonough's in the house, you know, people are like, "I want a phone. I want to talk to Chris." And I say, "All right."
Oh, that's a good thing.
I mean, for you it is. For me, it's like, but you know, I do enjoy.
I'm a lightning rod, Josh. You know that. I'm a lightning rod.
I think, look, man, we all, what is it? I'm a little flicker, a little spark, not a lightning rod, but you know, I'm a conduit. That's what I am, a conduit, you know? And so.
Well, I've been through so much in my life. I've learned to empathize, and I'm not real good at it all the time, but you know, I try to, you know, treat people with respect. You know, I love that scripture where it says, "I wish that thou were either hot or cold, so that I could spew you out of my mouth."
Right.
I mean, make a decision, right, in life. Be one or the other. Don't be both. And the Lord says, you know, these doth I hate, you know, hypocrites. And I think social media has created this volume of, you know, hypocrisy in our world. And not enough people, unfortunately, get called out on it. And I'm not one of those guys to just, you know, poke you in the eye and say, see, there, doesn't that feel better?
Right.
Because I don't, you know, I try to live a little better life in terms of, you know, I try not to criticize. I do, but I try not to. And then simultaneously, you know, I know my weaknesses and I know my shortcomings, but I also know my strengths. And it's, you know, it's more about them. People.
Yeah, you know, I feel like that as well sometimes, and you know, you read these little things where they say, you know, I used to wonder what people were talking about, you know, when I walked into a room, and until I realized that I didn't care, you know, what other people. It's so easy to say that you don't care. I'm not talking about you specifically, but it's easy to say that you don't care what other people think, because if people think that you're something that you're not, like you know, if they're just going to flat out lie and be emotionally charged, and for some reason be so miserable in their own life that you know, they want to say things that are fabricated or embellish them, or you know, bring up your past, or whatever.
But I'm open to it. I bring up my past. I don't care. I mean, I've got nothing to hide. You know what's really ironic? You got to grab that. What's really ironic? The past that they bring up is what? One case. Okay. And let me see if I can find something while I got you on the phone here. I'm teasing.
No, I'm not on the phone. That was just a notification.
No, I'm teasing you. That's why I said it.
858-299-2504 is the number to call.
My confuser is going a little slow. Whoops. I had somebody the other day ask me a question about a case I was involved in. And as we talked, I said to this individual, I said, what's ironic about all of this is the Matthew Checky case that year. And by the way, I was the only one that was telling people, me and one other DA, don't prosecute that guy. It would be wrong. And ultimately, I just saw an article today. They wrote because today's the 19th. I saw an article today that the case resurfaced. Who killed Stephanie Crone? That's the case from that has been following me since whenever. And in that, people are like, not people, but trolls or whatever. That's the only thing they bring up. It's like, that's the only situation they bring up. But the irony is where I was going, what I was going to show you, and I can show you, I got to find it, is that same year that they bring it up, I was such a bad officer. Okay. Who the insurance company forced me with everybody else to sign here because it's cheaper and we represent you. Okay. What they don't tell you is that year I was also Officer of the Year and Employee of the Year for the city with 3,000 people in the department meaning in the city, right?
Yeah.
And that part always gets overlooked. So I guess the city got it all screwed up by representing and, allowing the insurance company to do what they do, by picking me as, that guy for the year. In fact, I'm going to try to find it for you.
Officer of the
show it
Year.
to
Wow.
you. You can look it up. Anybody.
Well, that's
can
what
look it up.
well. Look, that doesn't go well with you don't want to talk about everything. You only want
So
to
they're
talk
not
about.
very good.
I'm not frozen.
Did I lose you?
No, you're there. You're there.
Sorry about that.
That's
I had
all
to
right.
go to space for a second. And yours is the only channel that I talk about this because it's important, but it's not important, but it's important in relationship to, what, if you tell things long enough and you don't hit back, like I've talked to a variety of people, they're like, just leave it alone, get away. And I'm like, look, I haven't said anything to anybody. I don't even know these people. Okay. But, they keep saying it long enough. There's only a couple that I know. And what's ironic is these individuals know what I know.
Right.
They know it. But I won't stoop to the level that they choose to get to. And, it's Christmas time. So
it is Christmas time, and we're here to uplift and
let's talk about some good stuff.
Yeah. Well, we got a call coming in right now, Chris. Call or go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, this is Suzanne from California.
Hi, Susie.
I just
Suzanne,
want-
sorry.
That's all right, Susie, Suzanne, it's fine. I want to apologize that I was kind of goofy last night on my call. with the dogs. I feel bad about that.
With the dog, with the what?
We're dealing
The growling dog?
that one dog that was.
Yeah, you
Don't
called.
get me laughing again.
You called after the dog
Yep.
had a hissy fit on the air.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that goofy? That
Well,
was
and
hilarious.
I felt bad because you had to do another show to get your point across on the car.
Oh, that's not true. I did a 5-minute video just breaking it down.
Okay.
That was not directed at, I just wanted to, I was just having thoughts about it. So no, all I did was do another video, kind of going into detail, but that's why we do these phone calls, because they're fun and I enjoy them.
Well, I appreciate you going to the library and getting all that info on Chris too.
Yeah, he's got there's an encyclopedia there.
Anyway, I just really admire you guys, and I put your wife in this category too, Chris. She's awesome, and I'm so glad that you guys are doing shows together. And I've been following you all since Summer Wells, so I had to retire because of physical situation, and I'm pretty much at home. So you guys are my life. I can't afford to send any money, but I do hit that button all the time, and I try to participate. What are your thoughts on the 4? I would like to know your thoughts, Chris.
What am I, chopped liver?
I know, I knew you were going to say that. Well, okay, let me rephrase that question. I'd like to know both of you guys.
Okay, let me just tell you what I think real quick. I don't know. Chris?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that question. I think, at this juncture, right, the only information that we really have in totality is what the authorities have released to date. And we don't know the sequence in terms of, who was the target, who was the first target, 2, 3, or 4. We don't know, what really happened pre-incident and post-incident, i.e., the individual obviously got out of that house. So we don't know what that other evidence is going to point to or who it's going to point to. That the really involved in trying to identify this car. I think that that car could be, a nothing burger. I've heard all the, I in Hawaii, there's a terminology called akamai, meaning pay attention. And one of the things that I always do in the background is I watch and listen. I've read all the 4chan stuff. I've read all the Reddit stuff. I've seen all the, serial killer guys on San Quentin calling in and, whittling in the backyard. And they're all good stuff. It's all good stuff. But we don't know if it's true. We don't know if it's real. I mean, I love the idea of, I learned a long time ago, and I've shared this story probably 100 times about Dr. Roger Hegler. And I also learned from, there were 2 main influences in my police career. One, when I was, first put into the crimes of violence in the homicide division. And back in the 80s, late 80s, all the way through the 80s, all the way through the 90s, till about 2000, the city I worked for was a city in Oceanside, California. We had 50,000 Marines out at Camp Pendleton. And we were the furthest city north in San Diego County. So we had everything coming south from LA, Orange County, and we had everything going north from the San Ysidro border. But at that time, in the mid 80s, we were the third most violent city per capita year after year after year. And we averaged 18 to 30 murders in a city of 100, and at that time, about 130 or 40,000 people. So if you do the math on that, I spent 13 years in the homicide division. So, you know, just being conservative, you know, if we did the math on that at, you know, whatever it is, 25. Huh?
You've been through a lot.
Well, we all have, right? I mean, we all have our Gethsemanes, as I call it. And so what I've learned, you know, to get to the thought for me was, you know, two things. One, Dr. Hegler taught me one time when we were doing it was an actual archaeological dig. The victim's name was Rebecca Jensen. And her daughter is still a good friend of mine to this day. She was 12 years old when I got the case, and now she's a mom with 4 kids. And there were three perpetrators. And anyway, but Dr. Hegler, as he was excavating the crime scene, which was Cody's mother, and I have to be real, you know, respectful, obviously, and careful, but because, you know, Cody's an amazing human being. And as Dr. Hegler was excavating, he held up a bone. And I had a guy that had just come into the bureau, and he looks over at me and he goes, huh. And Dr. Hegler kind of heard that, and he looked up and he held it up and he says, he goes, Chris, what kind of bone is this? And I said, Doc, I have no idea. He looked over the other guy. He says, how about you? And he took a guess, and he says, oh, you know, it looks like it's blah, blah, blah. And I'll never forget that moment. It was like a very strong, impressionable moment. He goes, wrong. And he leaned forward and he goes, it's a dog bone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so for me, I just kind of looked at him like, well, I'm glad you did that. Okay. And because, you know, I would have, you know, been embarrassed, number one, but it would have also taught me, and it taught him, and that individual never did it again. It taught him that we really don't know what we pretend we think we know. And those guys, you know, that do it, the experts, you know, they do it. You know, I've put multiple people on death row as an example in San Quentin. You can look up Brandon Wilson. He, you know, the guy the other night probably knows him, and but he hung himself on death row. But the second piece of where I was going was, again, you know, Jigsaw John at a CHIA conference, which is a California Homicide Investigators Association conference. And this was just before he had passed away. He had retired from LAPD. He spent 44 years in homicide. That's like, what? Right?
That's a lifetime.
It's a lifetime, right? And, you know, when I sat down, I went up to him, I approached him, and we chatted it up a little, because I was involved in a LAPD motor officer that was executed. His name is Vernon. And actually the suspect in that case got an appeal from Gavin Newsom out there, and he's coming back up for another trial, if you can believe that. Anyway, I sat down with this guy, Jigsaw John, and we were talking, and I said, John, what is your, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially the conversation was, John, what's the secret? And he looked over at me, he goes, "You really want to know?" And, you know, I was a hot shot, right? I'd been in murder for a whole year, you know, and I'm going to tap the wisdom of this 44-year-old or 44-year veteran. I'm not going to teach him anything. That would be too arrogant. But I'm going to learn. And he says to me, he goes, "You really want to know?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "Are you teachable?" That was the first question out of his mouth. And I was like, whoa, that's it. Now, this is impression number 2 in my early career when I went into the Bureau. And I said, "Well, I think I am." He goes, "Are you teachable?" And I said, I believe I am. Yes. He says, "Okay, then I'll share something with you." And that's where he taught me how to take a chair when everything was buttoned up. Like if this 4 was my homicide case and I was a case agent, I would have been in every one of those rooms and I would have stared at each one of those walls and I would have moved that chair in a 360 position. So I would have gone to every room and done that. Probably spent 5 hours in there after everything was buttoned up. And those walls will speak to you. They'll tell you a story. You'll see things. You know, and I think that skill embedded itself in me. And the other night, you know, just before they released that other video of the 2 girls walking down the street talking, my mind would just not shut off. And I had to find out, where is this, you know, where was this camera that caught this?
Oh, that video.
Yeah, and caught the conversation. And so the only thing that I could see was the shadow on that Fox News, you know, picture. And I thought, okay, well, what's correlating to that shadow? There's got to be something correlating. And so I went back to my driving video and, you know, saw the bench, the bottom of the bench. And sure enough, it was the exact spot that I had, you know, put out when they put the video up. And I didn't know about it.
That's experience there.
Right. And
Experience, right?
Well, and that's I think, but everybody is capable of doing that. I would submit, but it is a learned, it's a learned behavior that you end up in, you know, masterfully ingraining it into your, you know, your observations and things.
Well, and not everybody is teachable. And I think that's part of the problem with, I said, not everybody is teachable.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people get it in their head, this is the way it is. And if you know, and I'll just say it how it is, another YouTuber will come and say, no, that's not how it is. And then they get totally away from the crime and get off on a tangent. And
well, and what's interesting about law enforcement as a whole, remember, law enforcement's a paramilitary organization, right? You have a rank structure, you have divisions, you have, you know, different jobs within those divisions. And what I think YouTube offers is the ability for anybody that's ever been in law enforcement to come to YouTube, create a channel and say, well, let's talk about true crime and homicides. Okay. But, you know, they may have been chasing toasters, as we used to call it, their whole careers. And it doesn't matter what size your agency is. I mean, people at LAPD and the property division, those guys are probably the experts in the world, the biggest experts in the world. Okay. But they stay within their lane because they understand it. You know, they don't go over to the homicide guys and tell them, hey, this is the way it should be done. But YouTube allows that to happen. So everybody's an expert. Okay? And I always say, you know, right? I always say, you know, you can go into a hospital and watch a heart surgeon and then come out and say, I'm a heart surgeon. That's what YouTube is. Okay. And within the department,
yeah.
there are various jobs. Huh?
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm still
within-
here.
Right. And it kind of breaks down. You know, there's traffic division, there's warrants, there's warrant squads, there's, you know, SWAT, there's dogs, there's, you know, the list just goes on. There's burglary, family protection, homicide. I mean, the list just goes on. But when you retire, you know, everybody gets a little badge that says retired, but it doesn't say homicide on it, on that ID card. It says, you know, whatever, patrolman, traffic, you know, whatever. Okay. That's the difference. Mine said, and I can show it, but I don't have to, you know, it says homicide detective, retired. And so then I went to work for the, you know, work in the Cold Case Foundation training law enforcement. And that allows us also to stay sharp up here because we're with these guys. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a question to tie into this, and
Sure, of
then
course.
I'll let you talk to somebody else. So what I'm hearing from you is that the best thing to do is to stand back and listen and observe and go by the facts. When do you step forward? How do you know when to step forward?
Well, if you were the investigator investigating that crime, right? You want to be engaged, you know, through the whole thing. But from what we do, the YouTube position, and see, I've got two roles here in terms of when I say the YouTube position. I don't need YouTube. In fact, it was somebody else that had suggested the channel. Right? I mean, I've been doing this for quite some time behind the scenes without YouTube. And
right.
So anyway, it is what it is now. It's out there. And at the same time, you know, and I'll give you a simple example, right? I'm like a lightning rod. Josh will tell you, I say this all the time. And my sweet Karen's like, you know, who cares? Because she knows. I mean, and God knows what the truth is. You know, it's amazing that when I become material for other people, then you know there's no material. Right?
Chris, that's kind of what I say. The same ones that hate are the same ones that tag along.
Well, you know, it's like the reporter, you know, don't become the story.
Right.
Okay. And just as simple as it is, I am literally in Idaho, not because of the 4 college students that are murdered. I had nothing to do with that. But on a Thanksgiving day, I decide, you know what, I'm going to go get some film like every 10,000 other people. Okay. And I drive up there, and next thing you know it, I've inserted myself into the investigation. Depends on, you know, who you listen to.
You
And I'm
scallywag.
thinking, you know, okay, well, then what are you doing? You know, you're inserting yourself into the investigation by inserting yourself into my life.
Right.
You know, enough. Stay, you know, just stay in your lane. Leave me alone. I've never asked anybody for anything. I don't need it. I really don't. And I could, you know, and it's like enough already.
One time you asked me to fix a video for you.
You did. Yeah, a lot of times. And you know, I knew that glove thing was going to be a nut job. I knew it was going to like just spin crazily. Okay. But I mean, I had people, you know, step up, you know, oh, he planted the glove. Okay. Yeah. And I brought my wife along, and I figured, you know what, let's both go to prison while we're here. I got a glove in my pocket.
Wait, you planted the glove?
Well, if they watched the video, they could see that you hadn't done that, and they could see that it was way behind the yellow. It's the people that don't watch videos that just maybe watch 5 minutes of it and make their own, start saying lies.
Well,
anyway,
and moral authority. Go ahead. Anyway,
why would they do that? It's more fun to like make stuff up and sensationalize and lie about, Chris planting a glove.
It was good. It was a good story. I mean, and what's ironic is the idea of, well, he inserted himself into that investigation,
right?
Okay, to get clicks and to get views. Okay, well, you're inserting yourself into my life to get clicks and to get views. It's like I'm material for these other channels, and I wish they would just get a life, do your own thing, and move on. I have nothing against you, and I have nothing. I'm not going to say anything, but it's frustrating. It's annoying. Let me say it's annoying.
It's annoying to everybody because that's just what I was saying earlier. I hate that because it takes away from the 4 young people that were killed.
They don't care about that.
Not sure about that. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you.
How can people not care about?
You're 1,000,000% correct, and the focus on that is we don't see the good in the idea of, hey, officer, over here, you probably want to pick this glove up.
Yeah, what's the big deal about that?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, put it where it needs to go. Now let's go on to the next thing.
Exactly.
So, speaking of that, Suzanne, I got a whole.
You can go on to your call now.
I got my show, guys. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for calling in. I always appreciate when you call in, Susie. You always have great. Although last night was a great call. The call before with the dog growling at me incessantly, that was a little much, but that's okay. Thank you for calling.
Okay, well, I appreciate you guys. Talk to you later.
Anytime.
Thank you.
I mean, it's gonna be a long night.
Sorry. I apologize. I didn't want
to. No, she calls in all the time, and she's so easy to talk to, and she's just a lovely person. I don't know about this next person. Caller, you're on the air.
It's okay.
Well, hello.
Oh, hi. You sound nice.
This is Mindful Mama Ray again. How are you?
Yeah, well, she's nice. I'm good. How are you?
Hi.
Well, thank you. You are also nice.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice to talk to both of you. I just want to say both of you did great shows last night. I feel like I always learn a lot in the interview room, of course, with your panels of experts. So kudos to you on that, Chris.
Thank you. And don't miss Wednesday night. We've got a legend coming. Go ahead.
I'll be there. Count me in. Really, I'll make this short. I honestly just wanted to say Merry Christmas to you guys, and I hope you guys have a great season.
If you have a question for Chris, it's okay. I'm not going to get mad.
I actually have a question for both of you. This has been on my mind forever. I don't really hear much about it anymore. It makes me really sad. I think about her a lot. I actually used to live in Salida. So I think about Suzanne a lot. And I just wonder if you guys, I'm sure you think of her sometimes. And if you ever, what you think is going to come of that, if you have any thoughts on that, or if you have hope. So yeah, that's my question.
Well, are we talking Barry Morphew, Suzanne Morphew? To be honest with you, I've done a couple shows on it. I'm not that acquainted with the facts. I was not around YouTube or the true crime community when this. I follow it now, but so I'm going to defer to Chris because I don't know.
Okay.
You know, I think that case is still moving behind the scenes. Now that the pressure's off, what is concerning though is the defense attorneys have asked for all the evidence to be returned back to Barry. And
Right.
so,
As far as I know, they haven't released it, right?
yeah, not that I'm aware of, but I mean it could have been, but I don't know that for sure. And so if that's the case, I think we should all be, concerned that she won't get justice. But if that's not the case, that's yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I think about it often, and that is like a big fear that, there won't be justice, she won't be found. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it was really interesting. One of the things that, Andy, that we had talked about, Andy and I, is the tree situation that, there was some witnesses that said, some things about her and what happened that night. And there were certain trees that were supposed to be dug up. I don't know if they ever got dug up, to be honest with you. The authorities said they did it, but and they told Andy they did it, but I went out there and looked where those markers were, those items were. I mean, I physically went there. Those trees weren't dug up. So I don't know what the story was behind that. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the story was behind that. And there were so many rumors and all this other things, misdirecting people, people getting brought into court, for messing up with things. And I tell you, and that was one of the first things that, when I got into YouTube, right? That was the first time I learned this is a blood sport. This social media stuff. But the cool thing about it though, is I've been able to use my own personal experiences in the classroom to law enforcement, helping them to embrace. There are a lot of really good, smart people, and you're a perfect example of that, on social media that's doing good. And for families, for victims, trying to help by staying out of the way, and then simultaneously, assisting with information. And that's what the public, or that's what the police expect. They'll do the investigation. The authorities will figure it out, but they need the public to help them. And this is why the white, Hyundai is so important. They're not going, and keeping their mouth shut. They're saying, hey, we need this car found. Okay. So if this car is found by somebody on social media, i.e. Gabby Petito, that's a good thing. And they embrace that.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like, if these creators, if they want to help, then they should just focus on the crime to help, because the victims are re-victimized. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, I'm just saying that most people, and I say I'm into true crime, and I am into true crime, but at the same time, I'm kind of into like anything really, I'll talk about anything, and I have, but the fact of the matter is the true crime community is so, and when I say, I'm not talking about creators, I'm talking about the people that show up to these to our shows and things like that, and subscribe and join, and these people have a real heart for these subjects, and a lot of the time there are people that do pull at those strings, okay, and in one way or the other, and I'm not going to say that it's done intentionally or unintentionally. It just seems as though, we've really, especially in the last year, it seems to have just really gotten even crazier. And I've said for a while now, Chris, that I think that there's going to be some sort of legislation at some point in the future passed. I just don't think that they're going to allow true crime on YouTube to operate the way that it does.
Yeah. And it should be. It should be regulated, because it will weed out, the problems.
Yeah.
I welcome it.
Well, on that note, I do want to say that's a big part of why I subscribe to both of your shows, because I feel like, obviously your shows are different. I'm there for different reasons. I appreciate the interview rooms because, it's very information based. There's a lot of expertise. So I honestly, I feel like I really do learn a lot. It makes me think about these cases in a different way. And then with the lab, I just love the humanity here. There's more to Josh than just, the true crime. You feel like you kind of know him, and he obviously truly cares about these cases and these people. And, that comes back to the whole critical thinking too. That's our duty as listeners and followers to, use our minds to decipher the people that are just kind of on there trying to get views or trying to make a mockery of it, really, and not there for the true reason they should be there. So yeah, I definitely agree with the legislation thing. I think there should be legislation passed to weed out, the bad actors.
Yeah, and somebody in the comment, Lisa, and I agree, government is in our lives too much now. When does it stop? When people can behave.
And I'm one of those bad actors, by the way.
Yeah.
If you listen to YouTube, so
you're a real charlatan, my friend. Sweet Mama Ray, thank you so much for calling.
Yeah. Yep. Glad to be here. Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Appreciate your insight.
Bye. Yeah, you too. Bye.
Oh.
And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please nail it tonight for Josh.
Yeah, please slam it right now. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
You're not right.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
You hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I didn't know if I was on or somebody else.
Nope, it's you.
It's me, okay. This is a little bit. I'm members of both y'all's channels. I love you both. I just wanted to tell Chris, I guess, that I live in Alabama, and I was traveling a few weeks ago with my son. He runs a race car.
Yes, ma'am.
And we passed a Warner Enterprises truck. Big truck.
Yep.
And I was just, first thing that came to my mind was Dee Warner. I wondered if that was one of her trucks.
It could have been.
I don't know if they travel all over.
Yeah. It could have been.
I mean, I told my son, I said, the woman that owns that truck was murdered by her husband. He says, is that her husband? I said, no, it was her trucking company.
He was going to go after him.
Yeah, and And you know, your observation and your statement is a perfect example of how the power of these platforms can do good to raise awareness for D. Warner.
I saw that.
What a great comment.
I know, and I thought, golly, my heart sunk. I thought about her right off. I thought, that poor woman, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
But anyway, I just wanted to let y'all know I saw one of them trucks all the way here down in Alabama, not Atmore, if you ever heard of it. Atmore, Alabama, from Montgomery.
What part of Alabama are you in? Okay.
I'm in Mobile. That was an Atmore. It's between Mobile and Montgomery.
You know where Mobile, Alabama is.
That's beautiful country. Is that off the 65?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know
live all the way down as low as I call it LA, Lower Alabama. As low as you can go without a boat. I live right.
I love that.
I'm right on the Gulf of. But anyway, I just thought that was so strange that me, of all people, to pass one of them trucks. And, it was a really nice rig.
That case is by far the one that I'm so anxious because of all the evidence in that case. And I've seen people get the death penalty for less circumstantial evidence. I really have, in a lot of different ways. Whether that's right or wrong, what I'm saying is this man should be looking at like at least a life sentence, but then probably another 200 years for all the the financial crimes alone are staggering. Staggering. And they're so blatant and ballsy and there is no, like, it's almost like I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. The whole conservatorship or the child, they appointed a child a court ordered worker or conservator. Yeah. Okay. And he's like, no, I don't care what the court says. He should go to jail for that alone. He should be in jail right now for it should not be allowed. But the problem is you saw the statistics for yourself. It's emboldened him. He doesn't think anything's going to happen because they don't know in his mind, and it may be true, it may not be true, but they're not going to do anything. They don't solve crimes here. Those numbers were horrific.
I know it is. It's terrible. Every time I hear it, I just think, good grief, as that man not in jail.
And then that
little girl,
the triple murder that was brought up too. It's just like that. There's a lot of malfeasance going on in that county. And, I've never been one to think of like small town conspiracies but the Good Old Boys Club does exist in a lot of places. And I've always been like, nah, that's not. I looked at those numbers and I don't know if it's a Good Old Boys Club or if it's just that's the way it is. It's the systematic training of officers. There's a lot wrong. There's a lot wrong there. I know that. And so that case is extra frustrating because there's so much evidence and circumstantial evidence. You can't go around saying that you were going to kill your wife a week before and then say you had the biggest argument of your life. And the next day she moved out of the country and took nothing with her.
Nothing but her curling iron.
It doesn't take, it doesn't take much. And that's just the start of it. That's the tip of the iceberg. And it's a very, it's just a very small aspect of that case. But, anyway, I appreciate your call.
Okay.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Is that what she said?
Merry Christmas to both of y'all.
Yes, ma'am.
Little
Roll
bit.
Tide.
Great caller. Hey, we're just going to keep rolling. We got a few more. Let's just do it. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi there. It's Pat K from Canada.
Hello.
Hi, Pat.
Hi. Hi. I love both your channels. I have a couple questions of the Idaho.
Okay.
And Josh, because it's your channel, I'll ask first.
I swear.
I do. I love Chris, but I would ask him a question specifically if I was on his channel.
Well, you can.
So here you go.
That's why he's here.
Okay, so both of you, I'd like your thoughts on the video body cam recording where it sounds like someone's yelling, "Stop it." And then your thoughts on when the girls were walking down the street and one of them's asking the other one a question. Just your thoughts on both those two situations.
Chris, your channel, go ahead.
No, you get the first shot.
Well, I'll tell you. So the body cam footage, not the body, but the one where they're walking down the street talking, and
yeah,
I said this yesterday on the show that if that was just a regular conversation, if that was just a conversation picked up by some people walking down the street, it wouldn't. To me, I'm like, that's nothing. The fact that the college kids were murdered shortly after that, to me, makes it. But here's the thing: everything about anything leading up to that situation is creepy. It's terrible. It's scary. There's a lot of weird. There is this, obviously, and I'm saying this because we all know that, but there is a huge backstory here has been yet to be filled in on. And we don't know if what they said was, if it was real or not, if it was real, but if it was important, if it was just people talking, kids out on the town. All I know is that I heard one girl say in somewhat of a distressed voice, I'm not saying a frantic voice, say, what did you tell Adam? It's just, it
sounded a bit distressed to me.
It did.
Well.
And whether that means anything or not, I don't know. It seems odd to me. That's it. But Chris, why don't you talk about the body cam footage? You're
yeah, and to dovetail into your thought, on the underneath, that awning when they were come on the sidewalk there, where that first part of that video that you were commenting on, the honesty of her girlfriend was, well, I told him everything. That's a bond to immediately have that honesty out front. And so it was probably something going on where, they were looking to support each other. And now getting to the video in the field, we FOIA'd the actual body camera footage. I have that footage, and I've studied it and I've listened to it over and over again. You can definitely hear somebody saying what is being heard on that video. Now, who that somebody is, I don't know. I don't know if it's there are people that have weighed in that says, well, it's a party, it's, kids leaving, it's just, goofing off, etc. Yeah, that could very well be. But I think it's critical because it's on a video and can be heard that person, whoever that person is, should contact the authorities if they haven't already and say, hey, you can hear me on this video and this is what was happening, the stop it situation. Well, what I did the other night, or is in that 8-minute video that I did a voice analysis in terms of see if the public, what they thought it sounded like and who it was. And this is a total different, than the fake scream that was put up by somebody. That is fake. No question about it. It was, doctored and etc. But this video and that sound came from the officer's body camera, and both of them at the exact same time, 0255.16 on their body cameras match. So you cannot fake two police body cameras. You don't have access to it. So that's legit what we're hearing there. And I'm assuming, because I know there's technology available to enhance that. In fact, we did that in the Maya Miliete case. If you go look at one of my videos that's up, we enhanced the background noise with a company. So law enforcement has tools. They can do that easily. And I'll guarantee you they've already done it. They've already done it.
And do you think they would be able to tell if it was one of the 3 girls from the house?
That's a great question. I in all due respect for the family, I think the family can tell. And if I was the investigator,
that's what I would think.
Yeah, I would sit down with the family and say, "Hey, I need to play this. Can you hear your daughter's voice?" And let them tell you, because if they say yes, that's just another piece of the puzzle to help the investigation move forward. And we don't know if that didn't occur or not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like I was saying, that there are, sound wave apps, and it's not even an app. It's just programs that audio engineers use. Like for somebody like a layman like me, I could do that if they're saying some of the same words. It can be in different spots. There's pitch, there's pitch, there's reverb, there's all kinds of things that you can really match up. But law enforcement, and I've looked at some of the stuff. I mean, they have audio engineers at their disposal. And these guys, as somebody who has dabbled in that kind of stuff, they're top notch. And
Quantico has a whole lab section that does that.
Right. They're highly, the stuff that they use is just so highly sophisticated. And they are throwing everything, and I mean everything that they have into this case.
Oh, I think so. I was hoping that they'd have an arrest last week. I really was. And I was hoping they knew so much more that they hadn't told us. But hey, this is a new week, and every day I'm the DNA. I believe in that. And they would have had enough time. So if they don't have the guys match, they could be looking for a familiar match. That takes a little bit longer. But hey, I cross my fingers every day.
Golden State Killer.
Every day.
And Santa's coming this weekend, so let's hope he comes down the chimney.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys both, and love your show. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Or Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. All the above. Man, that's loud, dude.
Caller, you're on the air. Hello. Are you there, caller?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, very well.
Okay, well, I've never done this before, but I seen something on TV the other day. It kind of bothered me. Do you guys ever watch Sweetie Pilo?
On occasion, yeah.
Well, she had a thing on the other day that was kind of scary on that she found on Reddit.
Yeah, I saw a bit of that show. Yeah.
Oh, where Kaylee's ex-boyfriend's roommate was stabbing stuff with a canine knife.
Yeah, but I think I just do want to say that Reddit and 4chan are very unreliable sources, but
oh, it was just scary because he was like mocking the police about trail cams that they didn't find behind the house.
Well, you should see the messages that I get trying to rile me up into this stuff.
Part 2, it will commence.
Yeah, like I said, I did watch it. I did watch it, and I don't know how to feel about that kind of stuff. Chris, you've kind of been...
I've never heard of Reddit, so I didn't know.
Well, now your eyes are open, and it's like you've eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. I mean, the Reddit is a really rough place, and 4chan's even worse. And you can be anonymous, and now that lends itself to solving some stuff. You can put things out there in the ether, but you can literally say whatever you want. You can doctor anything you want. You can, but I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying that Reddit is full of really insane.
Oh, it's just made the hairs on the back of my neck go up and all. It was like crazy. But then there was another thing. I've been wanting to say something a long time ago, but I don't do internet stuff. So on the summer well, everybody was always saying that Dawn was at work that day. And on the very first day where you see the police at the house when they got the call, and it shows Dawn walking up to the cop, he's completely dressed up. It doesn't look like he'd been at work at all. If anybody ever caught that.
He may have been, right? I mean,
I didn't know if anybody had caught that.
Yeah, no, that's when he's in almost his Aloha shirt and his jeans. That one?
Yeah, with no spackle.
Yeah. And but let's hypothesize. Right? Let's talk about the possibilities. First of all, the biggest possibility is somebody had access to Summer Wells on her property. And I have not left that house yet. So the question is, the timeline then becomes really, really important. So I know you can sometimes go over county lines like Sullivan County and make a phone call and it will ping off an opposite tower, which makes creates an alibi. Maybe that's one of the 7 alibis. I don't know. But, I just ask, the other. Well, I'm not saying he did it. I'm just saying if this was an act. Remember, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not saying he did it either.
I was asking, do you think the case is cold now?
Yes.
It is?
Sure. And we had that message came from the lead investigator in the last interview that he did with the media. And I said it that night.
I must have missed that one.
Where he said, I come in every day, check my in-basket on Summer Wells, and then I do my other daily tasks.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Remember that?
Yeah, now I remember that one.
Right. So what he said there is, if there's nothing in my in-basket on Summer Wells, I'm chasing toasters or tweakers. That's what he said, but he didn't say it.
Or Dawn driving drunk.
Or whoever.
I feel like they just got away with murder is what I feel like.
Well, it's not over yet. The Cold Case Foundation is available to the Sheriff's Department. There's we've got almost 200 experts that can help. We stand ready.
weird. Her and Rose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just seems weird. It was her and Rose. It's nothing.
Well, that one's still working too, by the way.
I've done my
That
best.
sheriff's department is still up there.
It's hard. That's real tough.
I talked to that case agent personally, and they're still working some things. He didn't tell me what angle, but he said, look, this isn't dead, quote unquote. I said, Roger that. So, maybe there's a correlation.
Hey, Chris, 1 second. I'm getting a message from I think it's John Swells. John Swells, are you on? Go ahead. What do you think about this?
I've done my best. It's hard. That's real tough.
Anything else, Don Swells?
That's because God understands our human brain.
Yeah, that's true. Are you, do you have a traumatic brain injury?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Thank you, John Swells, for calling in.
You guys
I've done my best.
Anyway, you guys have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. Appreciate your call.
Thank you. Bye.
There is John Swells coming in out of nowhere, just hitting us with the heavy.
That's because God understands our human brain.
It's true. He really does. I just, Don, was there, sorry, Don, I mean, John, was there anybody that you went to school with or anything that liked you? Did you have friends?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right. Is it because you smelled bad?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, it must be because
I tried my hardest.
Your terrible personality.
Hard, that's real tough.
It is tough. It's tough when you have a really terrible personality.
I've done my best.
No, you didn't.
It's hard, that's real tough.
I think again, the grandma and Candace need to be re-interviewed over and over again until there's some answers.
What do you think about that, Don?
Right.
He agrees.
There you go. There you go.
John Swells, is there anything that you want to say to Chris McDonough before you get off there?
Idiot.
That's not nice.
No, that's accurate. That's accurate.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Josh and Chris.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hi. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yes, thank you. I would like to talk about the white cilantro.
Okay.
It's my understanding that in Eugene, Oregon, there's an abandoned cilantro that's been in an accident, and the license plate has been taken off, but they can go by the VIN number, I would imagine. But allegedly is connected to the landlord that owns the house where the 4 young people were viciously murdered. And the connection is that the car, they found out allegedly that it was bought in Colorado, and the landlord lives in Colorado. And it is a fact that they found this abandoned car. They have photos of it, and they have to do more investigating on it, but that's what they know so far. And I found that quite interesting. Wouldn't that be something if it is the car? There's DNA all over it.
That would be amazing.
I've been sort of tracking what you're talking about here. So far, it's it's hit Reddit and it's hit, the Chan, as I call it. And I haven't seen any mainstream news cover it. I haven't seen Idaho cover it, but it is a fact that there was a car. The caller is completely correct. That looked wrecked, dirty, and stripped of its license plate. Now, that being said, they have a very, very, very high auto theft problem around that area, but I don't know. Somebody said Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon.
Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they just don't know if
and
it's
then I would.
It's possible. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then I would like to just make a statement in reference to you talk about what's going on in the world today, and what I have learned to lean on is that we are not wrestling against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers. We're not fighting men and women anymore. We're fighting evil. I'll just call it evil. I don't want to, get into something that somebody's going to just rip apart, but I truly believe we're fighting against evil, and it's really too bad the direction that we're going at this time. I hope and pray it turns around.
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. I agree with everything that you said. There is whether you're religious or whatever, the fact of the matter is good and evil exist. Good is good, bad is bad. And the kind of evil that we talk about when we see, especially in the true crime community, but it's not even that. You just turn on the news, Inside Edition, ABC, CNN, Fox, they all report this stuff because people are fascinated by evil. The kind of evil that we are talking about right now in these cases with the missing children, Leilani Simon throwing her son in a dumpster is as evil as you can imagine. The kind of person that does that is somebody on the inside that is dead and has no feelings. And if you want to, people want to say, oh, she was on crack or whatever. A lot of people are on crack that don't do that. Okay. It's something else that's got to be inside of you, and right is right, wrong is wrong. Go ahead.
Yes. I just hope to God that baby wasn't thrown in that dumpster alive.
Yeah,
I just can't get over that.
I read that. Did you see the show where I went through the indictment?
No.
So I read out that indictment. It was a 9-page, 19 count. I believe it was 19 counts. I read every word of it. And a lot of what are in indictments is, hereby the state of this on every single charge. And I saw a lot of people reporting it, which was good, but people were just highlighting if you just read that piece by piece, and by the way, Quentin Simon deserved every word of it to be read. And it probably took me a good 45 minutes to get through it. And when I read that,
did they say it was?
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Did they say it was a blunt instrument or just an instrument?
Yeah, she beat him to death. That's what the grand jury. They don't know.
With a blunt.
They don't know what the object was, but yes, it's blunt force trauma. But they don't know yet.
The definition of blunt is not sharp, correct?
No, it's just a hard.
Would be like a hammer or a bat or something like that.
Yes.
Oh my God, have mercy.
Yes.
Oh, my heart is broken. over these children, except for the little children.
But you know
and
what?
They are suffering.
Chatham County,
Well,
they did an amazing job. All those volunteers and police officers out, they did. Chris, and you'll love this. So when you're going through the indictment, they charged her like 4 times for the same lie. It was just on different days. And they didn't spare one little detail, because if they basically, you had us out there searching for your son in a landfill and you lied to us every single day, we're going to hit you with every single charge. And that was really interesting to see that she would repeat the same lies on different days, and they would note it, and they're like, we're going to charge her with those. We're going to charge with those. And they did such a fantastic job. The outcome of it is just so terrible. But
and she didn't give one iota.
No, she didn't. You're right.
She never will tell the truth, I don't believe. I don't believe she'll ever tell the truth.
I don't either. But they have just overwhelming evidence. And I saw the district attorney. 19 counts. 19 counts. And they've got 3 different types of murder charges in there. Just, when I saw that district attorney, stand up there, I felt really confident, and I feel really confident in her. She's sharp, and she was just like, look, I wouldn't be standing here. I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't feel that we had what we need to go forward. And Chief Hatley and
justice for Clinton.
Absolutely. And so let's not forget about, that is a case that, in Athena as well, with the FedEx, there's a lot of people, and I want to thank you for your call, and I'll let you go, but thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Merry Christmas.
Chris, and that kind of brings me to this, is that there are a lot of people that are hurting this time of year. It's a really extremely tough time of year for a lot of people. And it's built up to be the happiest time of the year. And a lot of the times it is, but it's also a lot of the saddest times of the year. And, you think about these families of these cases that we talk about, they're really going to be struggling over the next, the rest of their lives, really. One thing that I wanted to tell you, so I got a visitor today by the name of, her name is Allison, and I call her Aunt Allison. I haven't seen her in some time, but she showed up today because, Christmas, she bringing by a Christmas card. Well, this lady was my mother's best friend until the day that she died. And we sat and probably talked for an hour, and we had never really talked like that before. And she told me some things, new things, more things about what happened. My grandma was right there. We were all talking about it. And, I said, he's got a parole hearing coming up. And she goes, well, did they ever bring up the time? And I'm going, that he tried to run me and your mother over with a car. And I said, huh? I said, no, I didn't know about that. And I turned to my grandma. I said, did you know about that? She said, no, I didn't know about that. He assaulted her while she was asleep. He put his hands down her pants and she pretended to wake up. I did know about that. But as she was kind of reliving it with me, it was a very, it was a surreal moment. And for some reason, you know, as a 37-year-old man now, hearing the things that the trail of destruction that he's left, it is not, those things aren't easy to hear. And God knows what else there is that I don't know about, but it was so like cleansing, though. I'll tell you that. It was like she needed to talk to me. She wanted to talk, and we did. And we're talking, 30 something years after the fact. And, she's probably close. I mean, she's probably 57, 58 years old. And she says, Josh, I've never hated anybody in my life. She goes, but I hated him. And I said, I understand. So it's really weird. It does, like, this time of year does bring up a lot of emotion and a lot of who's not with us and who, it's just, look, I think that we all would love to have a little bit more time with the loved ones that are no longer here. And a lot of people are going to go without some family members this Christmas. And it's a terrible thing, and I know that you feel that too, Chris.
I had an experience a while ago, and then do you think this car thing is legit? I don't know. Personally, this is the first I've ever heard of it. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. But if it is legit, then we're in the ballpark.
Right.
Like I said, they know the house. Anyway, I had an experience a long time ago. A very dear friend of mine. He was running a marathon, actually a triathlon, and it's called the Frog out of Coronado. And it's held on the base down there where the SEALs train. And it's named after one of the guys down there, on the team members down there. And he asked me, he comes to me, he goes, hey, I'm going to run this triathlon, and would you be on my support team? I said, absolutely. How can I help? And my role, because you can look at my body and realize it's not designed for triathlons. It's designed for, donuts. That said, that day I went down there and I was helping, and I was passing out water in the tents. And I noticed that the intensity of the training that had taken place for these individuals who were running that day and biking and swimming was unbelievably amazing. Their intensity, their focus, their clarity. And they had one thing come out of their mouth as they came through the tent, and that was water. And my role was to hand them the water. And I've reflected on that year after year after year, after understanding certain things. And I also correlate that to the reference of whosoever cometh unto me shall never thirst. And I thought to myself, who's the water of life? Who's the breath of life? Who giveth, who taketh? There are definitely forces in this world that are opposites. There has to be opposition in all things, or else there would be no growth. So sometimes chapters within our lives, we go through opposition. And those chapters then teach us what we can do better, or what we can do to help our fellow man around us. And around this time of the year, when my son passed in 2003, he's 20 years old. And I got a photograph from our daughter where she went over to the cemetery with her two sons, twins, Twinkies, and they decorated his grave. I sent that to you, right, last night, right? You can show it if you have it. You're welcome to show it. Do you have it?
I do. Yeah, I'll bring it up right now.
Okay. And so where I'm going with this is I understand the moments like this around the holidays. And you don't you can't wrap your mind around the pain and the suffering that anybody who's been in that situation is experiencing, such as yourself in your own unique, and I call it Gethsemane. You have a Gethsemane, I have one, others have one. I wrote a post about it on my community page today. The only thing we can do is give back the gift of kindness that's been given to us. And I had an epiphany about 2 years after our son had passed away. And even today, I read in some of the comments, some of the most beautiful comments, where there it is. That's my son's grave with my grandchildren, 2 of them, 2 of the 5, our grandchildren. They're Twinkies. But the circle of life just revealed itself in so many ways in this photograph, because it was very painful to receive the photograph, but it was also extremely empowering to help not only these 2 little guys, but others around me. And that's part of my core. And so where I was going with this is when we all have problems, we all have Gethsemanes. That young man right there, Ryan Christopher McDonough, was 20 years old, and he passed away September 3rd, 2003. Okay. That's my son. This YouTube stuff, I don't care about YouTube in any way, shape, or form. I could care less. I could care less what, clicks, views, super chats. I don't care. I care about people. Okay. And I care about people maybe suffering as I have suffered and others have suffered. Okay. That's what I care about. That's my driving force in this world. Because I know at some point I will be next to him. And before I get there, I have to try to do the best I can. I just have to live a better life. And I had that epiphany where I was driving. It was like 2005. I'm driving along and I was thinking and I was talking out loud, because I think out loud, if you can't notice. And as I was driving, I had the radio on, and I heard a father had lost his entire family in Arizona off the Interstate 8. And he was the only survivor. And I said to myself, wow, that guy's got it worse than me. And I had to figure out what that meant. And it gave me the strength to move on. And within this first 10 years, I don't think I could have sat here and looked at this photograph It would have been too hard for me. And that's where people are. That's where these families are for these 4 victims right now. This is where, Maya Miliete's family is. This is where Brandy is. This is where, the list goes on and on and on. Thousands of people. There are people in our chats, in our platform, who come to our platforms. They don't come to our platforms to hear about, books and all this other stuff. No, your life is a book. Let your light so shine that it glorifies God. Not that it has to glorify the pages that we write and say, buy my manuscript. Now, that's necessary. That's necessary for people, some. It's not necessary for me because I understand that piece of the puzzle. So I've said to you, and this is why that I like you, is because you have been that young man, and you are younger than me, so I can say that, who teaches with authenticity. And that's what I love about you in terms of giving back. You're not perfect, and neither am I. Okay? But you're not a bad person, and neither am I. But that's okay if there's perceptions of that. That's more of looking through the glass, right? With the old story of, Marge looking through the glass at the neighbor, okay?
Yeah.
And it's dirty on the right. And then she comes home and says, look what John's doing next door, and the husband says, well, here, let me have your rag for a minute. And he wipes the dirt off the inside of the window. And all of a sudden he says, that was your reflection. It's not John's. That was yours. Okay. So, Emmy, hold tight. This is the hardest thing you will ever experience in your life. I can assure you of that. And I'm so sorry. But you can do it. You can do it. You can push through it. You can push through it. It's hard. There were days you and I both know, and I can tell you, there were days I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And all of a sudden I figured out that, no, I can do this. I can make this, and I can give it back. And that's what I try to do. I try to give it back. Okay. And hang on for a second. I got to turn off my camera for a minute because my sweetheart needs to go to the restroom.
No worries. Just obviously Ryan is such a handsome young man and with a full life of potential. He was only 3 years younger than my mom, and it's tough. It is tough around this time of year. I always say, and I don't know, this is just me thinking out loud, that pain is the only thing that really keeps them alive in my heart, because I know what I'm feeling is real. And if I'm feeling it, then they were real. They are real. They're just not here anymore. And so when I cry about it, when I feel sad about it, when I feel angry about it, then I know that I am remembering them. The pain comes from love. It just does. And I as somebody who carries, and people say this, and I appreciate it, and I don't need to be inundated with this, but as somebody who carries an immense amount of guilt and survivor's guilt about a lot of things in my life, including the conversation that I had today, there's nothing that anybody can say to me to ease that. The only person that can do that is me. And I feel as though, we're not guilty of the sins of our fathers. But like I said, I carry a tremendous amount of guilt. I just do. And that's been a part of my issues for a long time. I feel guilty I survived. I feel guilty that my father left a trail of destruction. I feel guilty for his victims. And I didn't start feeling that way until I started getting a little bit older and, hearing the stories. But that's why I talk about it. I feel like that's the only way for me to kind of balance it is to share my story. Cause like you said, Chris, there's so many people that have it so much worse. But also I don't compare tragedies. I really, really don't. I've never lost a son, Chris, and I don't want to. I just don't want to. Your mother was never murdered, and you would have never wanted that to happen. We do not compare tragedies because they're all unique. They all stand alone. But the one thing that is universal is heartbreak, sadness. We all know what that feels like. Anger, sleepless nights. We all know what it feels like. And I appreciate you sharing that with me the other day. It was not lost on me. I understood.
Well, I think your wisdom is beyond your years in what you're saying. There are people that have it much worse than anything. Right? I mean, don't misunderstand me.
No doubt.
It's bad. It can be bad, and it's an eternal thing. But at the same time, you have to figure once you get through those stages of life and trying to understand it, which you'll never understand. I thought years ago that I did understand it. I had a suicide where a young man was he stood on the railroad tracks. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the details of it, but let's just say it was horrific. And, I had to talk to the family. I had to talk to his mom. And this was before, our situation. And I thought I understood the process of grief and, the measurements of, academically, the stages, anger, etc. I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue until I was in that day. And this is what's ironic about the human existence, right? We wake up every single morning with the ability, to choose, right? What do we want to do? And this is obviously goes back to, the philosophy of Dr. Viktor Frankl, who came up with a therapy. It's called logotherapy. And obviously he mastered that skill set in Auschwitz. And if you have not ever, guys, lab rats and just friends, and those of you who are joining here, if you've never read the book, A Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl, I highly encourage it. Highly encourage it. It is an empowering piece of work, literature. And it will help you through the process of whatever you're going through. So anyway, this is why I'm still in this, what I do, why I'm with the Cold Case Foundation, why, I try to help. It's, it's not about clicks and views for me. It's just not. And that's why I ask people and tell them all the time, we only ask you subscribe. And the only reason I say that is because that's what they tell you to say on the doggone tutorial videos from YouTube.
Right.
Ask people to subscribe. That's more, I think from YouTube than anybody else. And, I ask you to live a good life, and be kind. Be kind to me. Be kind to your friends. Be kind to your family. Is that your dog?
No.
What was that?
I have like 7 screens. I don't know. I think I got electrocuted.
Okay. But I mean, that's why I think you and I hit it off, because, you saw flaws. I saw flaws. People see flaws. Okay, great. But, I can read letters. I don't have them in my desk here, but in my old office, when the whole reason I'm in an Airstream right now is because we're living life and we're helping families and
Sure.
working, right? Going and doing things. Okay. It talk about freedom and liberation, not only of the heart, the soul, the mind, and isn't that the first commandment, right? Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength.
Correct.
So I try to live, with my heart, my might, my mind, and my strength. And I have an Airstream. Look, I have an Airstream. But here's a hint, right? I don't have a house. I live in probably less than 200 square feet, and I love it.
I know you do.
You know, and because here I am sitting with you as a friend.
Who wouldn't love that?
And I'm, welcome to the internet, right? The power of technology.
It really is amazing.
Yeah, we're in space. Go ahead. Go.
So just to finish off here, because we've gone 2 hours, and now because your first phone call went on an hour, I got electrocuted again.
Your dog. That's your dog. What, you stepping on his tail? The clown car coming through?
Yeah.
The heck over.
So this is kind of funny, but so last night I was making these little, I was up to making those memes, and I made a couple about you and Billy and everything.
Oh, they were great.
And then I started making some about Otis, because, he's funny. And I made this like really girly, like I was trying to, emasculate him a little bit, and it backfired me on in a major way, because I posted this photo on my YouTube community post, and people immediately started going, "Oh my God, did Otis die?"
Yeah, he's ripping off the grocery list.
That's a grocery list, and I put a rainbow behind him because I thought it'd be funny, but people thought he crossed the Rainbow Ridge or whatever the hell they call it.
Oh, okay.
And all of a sudden, I start getting this boom going. Oh my God! I said, oh my God. Otis is fine. Trust me, he did a lot of damage today.
I know.
Only like that, and I didn't even.
But
I
don't you
didn't
love
even
them?
that. I was like, people are
They're
like,
nut jobs.
did Otis die? And I go, no, he didn't die. I didn't kill him. Even though he ripped up, what, dude. I came into the house last night, paper all over the floor. He had got a hold of something, just ripped it all up, right? Totally normal. And I'm like, I pick it up, one piece of little paper. I say, you do this. He jumps up on the couch, puts his paw up like this. And I was like, okay, all right, you're so cute. Don't do that anymore. Don't do that. And we're sitting there and I'm talking. I'm like, you're so cute. Chris, I'm not even kidding. He slides off on his belly onto the floor and starts nibbling on the paper again after he found out that he wasn't really in trouble that much.
Well, they know. They do. They know.
So, that here, I'll show you one more here. So I had to take that bad boy down and, because it made a lot of people think that my dog died. No, I got you. Let me see. Here we go. Crap. You'll enjoy this one. It's a little more accurate.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I got carried away. That's something that happens to me.
Can I share Bud for a second?
Please.
Let me see if I can find it or share screen. Hang on.
Yep, I'll throw it up.
So the other day was his birthday. Can you see that?
Yeah, hold on, I'm gonna throw it up. There it is. He's so cute.
Is that about the coolest? This little rascal, he just looks at me, and we took him to PetSmart, got him all dolled up there, and they put his happy birthday little handkerchief on him.
He's so cute.
He is, and he is interesting.
He's so adorable. How old is he now?
He's 8.
A young man.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a smart pup. And
wrong pup. Let me take that down. Good dude, smart pup. Take Otis off the screen, please.
Otis is up there.
Well.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Hold on. Let me just. I'll show you this real quick because you'll.
Yeah, let's see it. Seeing how this was the show that we talked earlier, said let's just roll whatever it is.
Yeah, it was great.
Isn't that what we were doing?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look at him there. He's the crown jewel of the Titanic.
That's hysterical.
Somebody asked because of the rainbow if Otis was gay, and the answer to that is I don't know because he doesn't talk.
Could be.
I don't know. And guess what? I love him no matter what. He's just my little buddy. But I was going to tell you, I don't know if you heard this on the show last night, but I wanted to crop your head and Billy's head on the Lethal Weapon. Did you hear that part?
I heard about it. Yeah.
But I would have had to make Billy black, and that would have been a problem for me. People would have got mad at me because he would have had to be Danny Glover because obviously you got the Mel Gibson hair, right?
And I make sure that I maintain it, unlike some other people.
So, hey, before we go, Chris, last question.
Okay, there's one more.
Oh, here. Okay.
So that's Irk. That's early days. You can even tell by the car. It was early 80s. when I was in patrol.
He's so cute.
And he was a machine, an absolute machine.
Look at that hair, both of you.
Hey, you know what? Look at I was cut. Too,
you were cut
back in the day.
Get some real licks in. I mean, you're pretty thick boy there.
Back in the day. Irk the jerk. We ate a lot of people.
Anyone, I've already had enough sadness. That poor, he's so cute. Okay, so I got a question here from one of my favorites, and it's Muscles and Mascara asks, can we as a community here in Hawkins County do anything to get the cold case here? Can we advocate for that to someone that matters?
Yes, you can talk to the same people that they're talking to about petitioning from people, getting involved in cases. You can talk to that congressperson who's, the calendar man wanted to put a petition together about keeping people out or blah, blah, blah. Well, it's called the First Amendment, number one. So that ain't going to go anywhere. But go to that congressperson and say, look, this case is stalled. Call your congressman, call your senator, call your mayor, call your, the servants, in the city council, call your commissioners. Don't do anything, like standing out in front of a house with instruments or anything. Don't do that. But you can advocate for Summer. Max said he's not in the Auschwitz registry, Dr. Frankel. Well, I don't know. He was in a couple of, I think he was in Dachau also. Want to check that? Okay. I mean, the guy, he's got a #1 bestseller. I'm sure he's been vetted, but that's just my opinion. But I don't know. That's what the book says, right? He claims he was there 3 years, Max. Max Smith, by the way, is my wife's as a family member in Michigan that used to own a Frank Lloyd Wright house up there. Maxie Smith, he was a school teacher and his wife, but they moved out to San Bernardino. Are you related? Because maybe you're related to my wife. But anyway, go back to, basics with the community and get them involved. Get the news on your side and start advocating. And then we can get involved if the law enforcement agency invites us or if the family invites us. Sometimes the family invites us and then we start working with the law enforcement agency, and then we have to, run 2 lanes there. And what we do is we separate from the family, i.e. we're still, talking to them, but we're working physically with the law enforcement agency. And that's what's happening up here in Idaho. That's why I'm up here. And good things have been happening, as you guys know. So I can't talk about it, and I'm not going to talk about it. So, but Summer, I would love to get my teeth into that case. I really would.
It's good to see you, Brandy.
There's Brandy. Love Brandy and her family. And the power of these platforms, that poor family got beat up unmercifully for no reason. And say what you will about me, but we brought some rational discussion to the plate. The family has said enough already. Poor Summer. I agree with you.
Yeah,
it needs to be resolved.
Botanical comes through. I absolutely love both y'all show tonight. It was such touching. I loved it so much. Thank you both so much. I consider you all my family. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you. Merry Christmas as well, Chris. Thank you so much for being here. I had a great time as always. Great discussion, and get some sleep.
Yep, I appreciate you. Aloha, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Biakamai and stay the course. Merry Christmas. See you, bud.
A round of applause for McDonough. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the memberships and the super chats and stickers and likes, subscriptions. It all matters. It all means a lot. Like I said, just hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to what we do here, or at least that's what YouTube tells us. So I appreciate you guys so much.
Blazing the steel. Bring the heat. Mix it non-stop with the hottest DJ.
I'm your host, Joshua Diaz.
Non-stop.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There is not really this to me.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I had to put her on the side and worry about
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There is not really this to me. Right, idiot.
I've done my best. It's hard, you know, that's real tough.
But I had to put her on the side and worry about the boys.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do for me and my boys and my kids.
Don't say any F's and stuff. Live from the NBD Production Studios, you're in the lab with your host, Joshua Diaz.
There is no investigation. This boy has.
There is not really this to me. But I had to put her on the side and worry about the boys. But I had to.
There is no investigation.
Don't say any F's and stuff.
But I had to put her. But I had to put her on the side and worry about the boys.
Oh.